Hi everyone. I am just going to wait a couple of minutes to allow some people to join me. So this is the first making your morning session. So really excited for it. I have decided to set this session up, I guess, for a few different reasons. So I've been speaking to a lot of people and they've been talking to me about how probably with some of the new restrictions coming in place and with winter coming up, that they're feeling a little bit of a slump at the moment. And I know myself with the mornings being a little bit darker. I'm usually up very early. I've been finding it a little bit trickier the last wee while. And I thought, you know what, if I commit to doing these sessions of a morning, then that's going to make sure that I am up a lot earlier. So this morning, the alarm was set very early for 5 o'clock. So I got up, I did some exercise in the house, and then I went out for a walk and a little bit of a run after that. I've done some meditation and getting prepared for the session as well. So we are bang on 7 o'clock. I can see that I've got at least one person joining me, which is great considering I just set up these sessions last night. So hopefully we'll get a few more people joining just over the coming minutes. But you can watch this on repeat as well. So, I'm making it sound like an episode of Corrie, but I will post it to my YouTube channel as well. So today's theme, and for each of these sessions in the morning, I am going to set a bit of an intention, a bit of a theme for what we're going to talk about. Now, feel free to use the chat box. There's comments and things that you can use. Please do put any questions in there if you are joining me or interested in anything that is said. So today's theme is all about habits. Now, habits are really interesting because often there's different connotations with habits. So sometimes people think about, negative habits, habits that I want to change. Or for others, it's about the good habits, the habits that kind of keep you in a really, really good place. So for me, habits have been really important over the years because I do believe that what we do repeatedly has this big impact on our life overall. So if I have a more negative habit of maybe eating junk food over time, then obviously that shows up physically in terms of how much weight is or extra weight is on my body. So I think it's interesting when we look at our habits overall and really start to break them down, because the more we become aware of what we do repeatedly, the more we can look at actually, is that serving us? Is that something that's actually giving us more energy and that's helping us in our life? Or are the habits that we have more negative and not actually kind of serving us too? So there's a couple of really, really good books that I've read around habits and I think may be quite useful for you to have a little look at if you are interested in them. So I've got one of them here in hard copy, and I also like to listen to audiobooks as well. So I'll talk about another one. So The Power of Habit, you may have heard of, by Charles Duhigg, and he talks about lots of different examples of people shifting their habits. One of his key principles is that with any habit, it's not that you can suddenly just stop doing something. You have to actually replace the habit with a different routine. So he talks about people, for example, who are smokers, and often people talk about when they stop smoking, they insert a different routine when they're under pressure. So it might be that they eat something, and maybe a more positive one would be that they do exercise. But when he talks about with each habit that there's a cue, there's a routine, and what we're doing is we're looking for a reward. So actually what we need to do is think about a different routine that will give us a similar reward. So for example, with somebody with smoking, it's often stress relief. So they're looking for a stress relief reward essentially. And so what can you do that will help you to get a similar reward but in a more positive way as well? So I notice, for example, for myself in the afternoon when I'm working at home, that sometimes I can feel a little bit flatter in the afternoon or a little bit lacking in energy. So if I was having not so good a day and the cupboards were full, maybe I'd just done my big shop, what I might do at that point is go and see, oh, have I got any goodies in the cupboard, and actually eat something to try and give myself a sugar boost. Whereas actually what would be a much better thing to do, because you then get that sugar dip, is to go and just to actually get some fresh air and go outside. And when I do that, and when I insert that kind of positive routine, if you like, the reward lasts for longer. So interesting just to think about your habits on a daily basis. Everything from how do you start your day? So if you're starting your day with the alarm and hitting snooze, 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 what I sometimes think that you're kind of subliminally saying is that, oh, I can't be bothered with today. I can't be bothered getting up. I can't be bothered facing what may be ahead of me. Whereas if you start your day in a very different way, so for me, I even just have recently changed my alarm tone to a song that I really like. So when I hear it, again, the first thing I'm thinking is more positive rather than it being just the kind of tone of the alarm that is a snooze, snooze, snooze. And we have all done that at times. So I certainly am not coming on these sessions pretending that I have it all sorted, because I absolutely do not. But I just want to share a few things that work for me. Another thing that recently, so I've been reading, and I'll talk about a lot of books through these sessions as well, because I get a lot of my ideas from reading, from listening to books on Audible as well. And one of the other books that I talked about relating to habits is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the name of the book suggests, he talks about atomic habits, so the smallest, the tiniest of little things. And he talks about this 1% rule. If we can improve things by 1% over time, incrementally, that's going to have a huge impact on our life. So it's not about making monumental shifts all of the time. It's about the consistency, and it's about the kind of regularity of doing and moving forward in a small way, to really increase your I guess your positive approach in things as well. So that's one book. Another book to think about, and there was a quote that I wrote down before the session because I just thought I really want to share this because it really resonated with me. And James Cleary talked about, you don't have to be a victim of your environment. You can be an architect of it. And just now, I think that's so, so important, because there's so much going on at the moment that we could and can be absolutely have negative impact on us. But for me, it's about how do you respond? So how can you, in your day-to-day, choose how you respond to things and what you do and how you show up. And I've been talking to a lot of people that I've been coaching with around the circle of control. So there's lots of things out with our control. There's lots of things that we can moan about that we can't really hugely impact or influence. Whereas if we're always thinking about what can we control in this circle? So things like our mindset, things like when do we get up? What do we do during the day? What do we eat? How do we fuel our body? How do we speak to people? How do we build our relationships? All of that are areas that we can positively impact and positively influence as well. So what I like to do is kind of draw a circle and think about each day, how intentional am I being, but also what are all the different elements that I can control and take charge of in my life as well. And that's not about micromanaging other people, but it's about controlling your life and what you do within it as well. So it's maybe something interesting to think about if you're finding yourself in a little bit of a slump, and you're finding yourself, actually, I don't have as much energy as I want, or I'm feeling a bit negative about things, or it's coming into winter and different restrictions are being put on, and just feeling a little bit down around that as well. That circle of control can help you with what might a positive next step be. And I always think if we can kind of shift and take a positive next step, then it can really impact us in a great way as well. So it's another book that I would recommend when we're considering habits, is James Clear, Atomic Habits, he talks about so many different concepts that I love. He talks about how do we stack different habits together so it makes it feel like one action. So for example, in the morning, I was talking to you about getting moving really quickly, so exercise, and then stacking that with my meditation. So that becomes a really positive morning habit. So rather than it being two separate things, together you're putting the positive habits in one place. Also, throughout my day. So for any of you that know me well, know that I'm not a big fan of cleaning. So I don't love spending my time cleaning. But what I need to do to motivate myself sometimes to do that is to actually be listening to something that I'm really interested in. So I mentioned audiobooks. Often I'll have my earphones in, I'll be doing my cleaning at the same time. And what that does is it kind of energizes me as well to do the cleaning, but also to be doing something that I'm enjoying at the same time. So stacking habits in that way, you don't need extra time to maybe listen to something or learn something new. You can do it while you're doing some of the more mundane day-to-day things as well. So these are all, I guess, interesting ways to think about how can you adopt that into your day-to-day as well. Also simple habits that may help you overall. So I've talked about reading a lot. I also am a big fan, and those of you that have been to my meditation classes will know that I'm a meditation and meditation teacher. So I talk a lot about the breath and how can we actually at times just catch our breath and be aware and be in the present moment as well. And the more that we're in the present moment, the more that we're aware, when we're maybe feeling a bit nervy about something or a bit anxious about something, noticing what triggers you have in your body. They sit within your physical body. So for me, it's in my stomach when I feel nervous about things or anxious about things. It's that sicky feeling in my stomach, that kind of butterflies as well, if I'm a little bit nervous too. And I know at that point, if I'm feeling a little bit off balance, to just return to my breath. So a really simple technique is putting your hand on your stomach and your hand on your chest, and then just taking a really deep breath in to your stomach. So breathing in through the nose, holding for 2, and then exhaling everything out through the mouth for more than 4. So again, just breathing into the stomach through your nose, hold, and then exhale everything out through your mouth. And just repeating here for a few breaths, and you can just notice how your body feels. And it can be a really good way to start the day as well. Now, I've talked a lot about starting the day because really that's what these sessions are all about. And I intend to create just this positive space for people to just click into. You can type comments, you can ask questions, but also you can just listen to what I'm saying, and it might just trigger something for you, because my intention with these, and to have them regularly at the same time, is so that you can form that positive habit of having a slightly different way of starting your day. Because so often people grab their phone, they're straight on Facebook, or they're reading messages, they're reading emails from work perhaps before they even jump out of bed. Whereas for me, if you can start your day differently, and again, another book that I'm going to throw into you today, I'm throwing all the books in here, is called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. So really interesting, check it out if you haven't heard of Jay Shetty. Think Like a Monk, the book, it's really, really interesting, and he talks about giving yourself a little bit extra time at the start of the day, and he uses the acronym time to help people think about a great way to start the day. So I'm going to share this with you before we kind of close this first session. So T is for thankfulness or gratitude, as I often talk about. So if you can think about things that you're really grateful for at the beginning of your day, it can shift your perspective. If you can continue to do that throughout your day, it can also shift your perspective. Look for good, look for the things that are working really well, rather than always focusing on the negative. Now, something somebody shared with me was about if you're sharing this with other people or sharing this with children, for example, you can actually use your fingers to do it. So you can think about, for each finger on your hand, one thing that you're grateful for. So you can do the small things on your left hand, the bigger things on your right hand. You can do anything. If you're just using the 10, you can use your toes as well if you want to think about 20 things you're grateful for. This morning I wrote down 20 different things, people, experiences, things I'm excited about, and it really puts you in a positive place at the beginning of the day. I is for insight. So insight is all about learning something new. So reading, watching something on YouTube, tuning into a class, something like that. And it can be for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. It can be for 2 hours, however long you want. But it can be a great way just to develop yourself as you go through the day as well. M is for meditate, so our meditation, mindfulness, and being in the present moment as well. So having a regular practice can really help you. It reduces stress levels. I run a class on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock for half an hour, which is free. So if anybody wants details of that, please do let me know. And then the final part of time, this acronym here, is exercise. So getting your body moving. And I tend to find if I get my body moving first, the other elements of my morning work really well. So that's a little acronym that I've learned over the last couple of weeks. It's really been helping me to think about the different habits that I've got as well. So that's us bang on 1:15. So I'm going to stick to my time and just want to thank everyone who has tuned in this morning. Hope that's been helpful. Think about your habits as you go through the day, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.